when a family loses everything and the house is gone and their neighborhood is gone and the pizza place they went to is gone and the ice cream place they went to is gone and all of those things are gone, there's no support system for them, right? So when the whole community is desolated and the people that you go to for support are not there to support you, what's the immediate need?
We welcome two priests today from the West Coast who are in the Los Angeles area. We're going to be responding to what's happening within the Orthodox Christian community and the fires, the devastation that has hit there. Father Gary Kyriacou of the St. Sophia Cathedral and Father Michael Prevas of St. Nicholas Church in Northridge. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you, Father. An honor to be here.
Father Gary, let me start with you. How have your parishioners, your friends, been affected by the fire? I know you grew up in Los Angeles, so this is a very unique thing for you.
No, I don't know where to start with that question because when I was a kid, the Santa Anas came once a year, right? And so now we're getting them close to once a month. And so fire season when I was a kid was early October, right? And then we'd get through it and we'd be done with it for the year. Now it's all year round. So these dry winds blow in and you know what's going to happen. So on Tuesday night, we had the warnings of the winds, and immediately when we heard of the fires, you start calling people to find out what's going on and where and what is happening, and immediately started to find out that some parishioners were evacuating their neighborhoods and going to other parishioners' homes, and those parishioners that they were going to were telling me that they were evacuating as well. So you got people evacuating to a place that is being evacuated. And so it was really stressful in the sense of trying to make sure that people went towards safety, right? So that was the first part of it. The second part of it was it started to feel like COVID all over again, and the LA riots. I grew up here when we had the LA riots. It kind of felt like both of those, right? Because everybody they shut down the schools, nobody was going to school, and they had that going on. We had several parishioners evacuated. I'm going to say dozens and dozens of parishioners evacuated. We had a dozen parishioners displaced from their homes, and we have maybe a dozen parishioners that I know of right now that have lost everything. But as I have notes here of my staff and volunteers that are calling out people to find out how they're doing. And we've been calling since last Wednesday. And just now people are getting back to us to tell us where they are because they didn't have their phones, they didn't have internet, they didn't have anything. So, one woman, Eleni, she lost everything in Malibu. She doesn't know where to start. I just got off the phone with her. That was the call that I had to take. So these are the things that we're dealing with. I mean, when you lose everything, you lose your passport, you lose your ID, you lose your credit cards, you lose your phone, who are you? Right? Who are you? And I'm sure Father Michael has similar stories to that. And it's just, it's really tragic. It's a hard thing to swallow.
All right, no doubt about it, no doubt about it. Father Michael, let me come to you for a minute. Sort of your reaction of what you're seeing and how have you been responding?
It's been very reminiscent for the people of Northridge. They look back 31 years ago in January was a terrible earthquake that hit, and Northridge was the epicenter of the earthquake, which hit on January 17th of 1994. In the early hours of the morning. Countless people were displaced whose homes were just wrecked in the devastation of that earthquake 31 years ago. And many of them are having deja vu, or literally trauma, being displaced once again. Fortunately, those who were evacuated here in the valley, which is northern Los Angeles, the majority of them have returned home. While they were away, many had lost power, so everything they had just in their refrigerators and freezers was lost. But fortunately, most of the homes here in the valley were unaffected. We do have, to my knowledge, two families like Father Gary who lost everything. One woman who I got off the phone with earlier this morning lost her mother who fell asleep in the hope of the resurrection early on January 7th, and later that evening found out that her son's home had burned to the ground. So ministering to these people is some of the most challenging that I've experienced in 23 years of being a priest. And there's going to be a very difficult long run, but even the people who were displaced and who were evacuating all over really have endured quite a bit of trauma looking back at what they had 30 plus years ago from the earthquake. So even speaking with them and listening to their stories, being that I was obviously not here in 1994, has brought up a variety of mixed emotions that's going to take quite a bit of time for people to navigate as they contemplate how to deal with these types of difficulties and challenges. But it's a very unique time, and it's going to be a very, very long run for people to begin to contemplate how to rebuild and reevaluate from these terrible fires.
Let's talk a minute about how you both see the immediate needs of the tragedy emerging in LA. I mean, this is going to take years. This is not something that's going to be fixed in a night. How do you see, Father Gary, anything that you could put your finger on that you would say is an immediate need emerging?
The immediate need is to find a bed for these people to sleep in, right? And to make sure that their bellies are full. The other immediate need is to take care of the first responders, the firefighters and the crews that are out there fighting the fires, because there's so few of them and there's so much work to do. Right now, the cathedral is collecting. We've opened up our doors. We opened up our doors to be a relief center, meaning I heard on the news that Pasadena was overwhelmed with people and Santa Anita was overwhelmed with people. So I thought, we're out of the way. We've got all the space. Let's open it up. So our staff, and we got volunteer parishioners, opened it up. And I was expecting, as soon as we opened it up, for there to be a mad rush to us, but it was crickets, to be quite honest. And in those crickets, we shifted very quickly, and we just told our parishioners, bring stuff here and we will deliver it. So every day we've been finding other relief centers. We've been finding firefighters, law enforcement that need things. The great need today was hydration and power bars. So they loaded up a U-Haul truck full of that. They took them over and they unloaded them. They've come back here to tell me what the next need is, and we're going to put out a message about what we need to collect there and do it all over again. What we don't realize in these things, Father, and I'm just realizing them, is that when a family loses everything, right? In a situation like this, and much like the earthquake that Father Michael is talking about, because that devastated Northridge. I was at Cal State Northridge as a student then, and that was really traumatic. But when a family loses everything and their house is gone, and their neighborhood is gone, and the pizza place they went to is gone, and the ice cream place they went to is gone, and all of those things are gone, there's no support system for them, right? So your yaya dies, you have the Macaria, you have the Trisayon, you have the funeral, you have the Macaria, you're sad, your yaya died, but you get to go to school the next day and see your friends, and there's a sense of normalcy, right? There's a sense of normalcy, and then you deal with the grief that way. When the whole community is desolated, and the people that you go to for support are not there to support you, what's the immediate need?
Yep.
What's the immediate need? And I'm sure Father Michael has students like that as well.
Yeah, let's go to Father Michael there, because those are very, very, very good points. Father Michael, immediate needs. What's your parish doing? Let's talk about those from you.
It's immediate needs they change each and every day. As soon as you feel you have a hold on something, you wake up the following day and feel like you're doing nothing. This is such a fluid, and as they've been saying on the news, dynamic time, that it's constantly pivoting into something new. Our Ladies Philoptikos has mobilized and brought dinners and meals consistently to the local firehouse, which happens to be a hub for the firefighters who are from out of town, out of state, and out of the country. So we've been feeding firefighters and first responders, and then also bringing supplies to take to the brave men and women who are literally on the front lines and in the fields still fighting for full containment for these fires. So that is one of the immediate needs. We're also looking at preparing a more formal dinner for these people to come to the church and at least enjoy a moment of normalcy, to enjoy a second where they're not being pulled into another terrible tragedy, to believe that they are family people and are well deserving of a normal evening out that many of us enjoy. One of the other needs we are responding to is there's a church called St. Matthew's, an Episcopal church in the Palisades, which burnt down. So many of our parishioners are friends with the lower principal and school director, and our efforts right now are going to be partnering with that school to buy supplies, backpacks, and all the things that a student usually has that all of a sudden now are gone because they were not in the essential items that you would grab from your home.
Right. You
would grab a few days worth of clothing, important documents, but never did they say grab all of your child's school supplies. So many of our students, thank God, are very blessed. So we're going to try to pair each grade so that our first graders will buy for their first graders and the like, and be able to offer school supplies to students that, even though we don't know, they indeed are our neighbors, to try to help and assist. Because we talked to our kids and said, can you imagine, even if for a moment, this school that many of them have loved for many years was no longer here? Where would you go to school Monday morning? Where would you play sports? Where would you find your friends? What teacher can you trust? Where can you walk by and hear the bells of our church playing to cross yourself? Where would you go to Vespers and pray, as we do as a church and school community? And knowing that all of that could be literally reduced to rubble in terrible fires. So these are...
Yeah, I mean, what Father Gary said and what you've said too, I mean, these are the balancing items, or the borders, if you will, the bounce-off points when you're going through life and you have that security that you know that certain things are in certain places. And now you're talking about it being eviscerated. How about the children of your school? I mean, I heard something about young people writing letters to first responders, or anything like that happen that you know of?
So one of our goals, Father, is to have the children start to write letters, draw pictures, and send letters of appreciation to firefighters and first responders, just to give them a moment of encouragement, because many of these people, I would imagine, and we would all imagine, they're parents. And I was out the other day and I was getting a cup of coffee, and I saw Sandy City Fire Rig. So I stopped and I said, where are you gentlemen from? They said, Utah. Imagine driving the rig across several states, and Lord only knows for how many days, weeks, maybe, and or months will they be away from their families. So hopefully letters of encouragement from other children, appreciating them while they're away from their children, might give them a moment to put a smile on their face amidst a lot of darkness.
Absolutely. Father Gary, let me come to you just briefly, maybe one or two brief stories that you can think of parishioners, of friends of yours. You're telling us that people are bringing items to the church and then you're dispersing them. Can you share one story with us, a human interest story, if you will, that shows how heartfelt this issue has become for so many people?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. On Saturday, the dance group was together, and it gave a good opportunity for the kids and their families to bring stuff to the community and to donate and everything. And there were other kids that were organizing it all. In walked in a family that lost everything. And their girls went and started dancing, and they were smiling and laughing. And the mother turned to me and said, this is the first time our girls have, smiled and laughed since, all this happened.
Yeah.
In the meantime, there's another woman who's eyeing all the stuff. And I said, what's going on? She goes, my neighbors could use a lot of this stuff because they've been displaced. I said, then take whatever you need. And she said, okay. So she filled up a shopping bag on Saturday, took it to them, and came back and said, there's 6 more families. And I said, take it. So she loaded up 6 more shopping bags and delivered it to her family, to these families in her neighborhood. And that's what we want to do. Like love knows no color, knows no boundary, knows no anything, right? So we're not checking ID cards to see who needs what. If you need something, we want to give it to you. So that was encouraging to me to know that the cathedral was offering respite and refuge and relief for a family that needed it.
Father Michael.
Yes, Father, as I mentioned, with parishioners who've lost their homes, with the other one who lost their home came to me and said, Father, we bought our home in the Palisades in early December. And we're so excited and moving in. And I even have a slip in my office that they wanted their home in the Palisades blessed. And he said, Father, for some reason, we did not sell our condo in Santa Monica, which the husband and wife were in a little bit of disagreement as to why they didn't sell that condo. One wanted to keep it, the other wanted to sell. Fortunately, by not selling that, it left them a place to go. But just to see how God has worked in our lives and our decisions, and spending time with these people and learning and listening. Part of the beauty, Father, has been oftentimes as clergy, we're so quick to speak and people look to us for answers. Amidst this time, it's been wonderful because I literally haven't responded. Some people have even said, Father, what do we do? And I have literally no words because I don't know. But we've been able through the church to begin a disaster relief account, and we are literally sending gift cards to people and friends of parishioners and colleagues and business associates who've lost everything to at least help offset some of the costs of their displacement, perhaps to buy them dinner one evening as they're out with their family, just to give a bit of joy for a moment to know that a church named St. Nicholas that you've never heard of is praying for you and doing a little bit of something to bring the love of Jesus Christ into your hearts amidst some of the most chaotic times they've ever endured.
Another very inspiring story that I shared with Father Michael yesterday during lunch was a parishioner's, a Serbian family who celebrated the New Year a week later, cut their Vasilopita on Monday evening. And the kids, they had lost their father a year ago. So his mom and the two daughters who were home from school, and they were celebrating Serbian, New Year, and they were Serbian because of their deceased father side of the family. So they're holding up this tradition and they're cutting the Vasilopita. And the girls were discouraged because the house got the coin. So, it was the first time in years that the house got the coin. The next day, all the houses in the neighborhood go up except for theirs.
Oh.
I'm not saying that, their house was spared because they had the coin, but what are the chances, right? How beautiful is that story? The traditions that we have and how God can just touch something and bless it and give joy through it.
Well, to both of you and to those listening, watching, and living through this catastrophe, we want you to know that we now have a global prayer network, and we've put this to prayer. One of our greatest weapons, as you know, as Orthodox Christians, is prayer. And you have also now put the gospel into real terms, into life terms, as you look into not only the eyes, but the pupil of the eyes of the people that you're helping, your hand that you outstretch, the hug that you give to someone, or as Father Michael said, even just the silence, your presence. So we are indebted to you for that ministry on the ground. I want to ask both of you, finally, how can people watching and listening to the interview help through their local church in LA or outside of that? What avenues are there for us to help you?
First and foremost, prayer. Everybody just can pray. The second thing that comes to mind is I want people to be prepared for anything that might happen like this in their hometowns or their neighborhoods. So take seriously the emergency evacuation plans that the government tells us to do. So look at that. So prayer and be prepared. Then if they want to donate things to the cathedral or to St. Nicholas, they can send us stuff. I know our metropolis has a fund going. The Archdiocese has a fund going. Father Michael mentioned his fund at St. Nicholas. We started a fund at the cathedral to help the people in our area. But it's really nice to see how many organizations have created funds to make sure that the relief and the materials and the resources that people need are received. One of the first things that people asked us for was those portable battery packs to charge your phone, And a priest from the East Coast, Father Carrie Pappas, called me, and I said, "You remember the little thing that you got from Clergy Lady?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Send it." He said, "What?" And I was like, "Have you used it?" He said, "No." I said, "Then send it here." He said, "Really?" And I said, "Yes." I said, "People need those. They don't have power. They need to charge those up." So little things like that you can think of. I got a donation of 200 pairs of shoes that are being sent to us from Brooklyn, right?
Wow.
We got T-shirts that came to us from a town in Texas somewhere. It's just it's just good. It's just good people stepping up and doing good things, and
Right.
I'm proud and I'm humbled at the same time by the love that is being generated and shared.
Excellent. Father Michael.
Much like Father Gary said, I think every church needs to have a disaster plan. I mean, unfortunately, this has hit us very hard in Southern California. Obviously, Father Chris, in Florida and the south part of America was decimated by hurricanes not too long ago. But sadly, many towns in this country have endured active shooters. That we be prepared as people, because sadly, none of our communities are immune. So it is important and incumbent upon us that we be prepared in advance. There's nothing wrong with doing an active shooter training as we've done with our school. It's scary, it's unenjoyable, but it's necessary because there's a lot of people who do not value human life.
Unfortunately.
I think one of the other, Father Gary mentioned many things that I won't be redundant. The only one I will add that I know he knows well is to offer our support to the IOCC.
Oh, thank you, Father.
Many have called and I have directed them to the IOCC, who is on the ground here in Southern California. Their website is up and running with QR codes and abilities to donate and to help and to assist. Has been one of the most wonderful ministries of the Orthodox Church for a long, long time. So if one specifically cannot donate either to the cathedral or to St. Nicholas, please go to the IOCC. They are representative of us all, and
Right.
they are able to put our monies and multiply them many, many times over to put the good works of people's hard-earned funds to use to those who are experiencing tragedy.
I echo that 1,000%, and I'm sorry that I didn't think of that before that. The IOCC had boots on the ground here within 48 hours.
There you go.
And brought lots of comfort to me. And we have huddles every afternoon, and IOCC has been part of that as well. So
tremendous organization. I remember them working with us here in South Florida when the hurricane came, and they came down with several semis filled with refrigerators and generators and all that. So yes, they are a tremendous source for all of us. We will add some addresses and we will add some websites where people can go who obviously, when you see this kind of tragedy, yes, it's tragic, but it could happen to someone else. So please reach out. Now is the time, more than anything, to reach out. If you have to forego a gift to someone for their birthday or something, that's okay. Give that in honor of that birthday to people who have lost, literally, some people have lost everything, let alone their lives. Again, thank you both for being with us today.
You're welcome.
God bless you, Father Chris. A pleasure to be with you.